prized at 9th overall to win Class B. Until next time, you...
Welcome to the Toyota Dealer Rally, first round of the Sasol South African Rally Championship. The two-day event offers some of the best high-speed action on the rally calendar. This program is brought to you by Toyota, celebrating 50 years in motorsport.
Folds of the area's rolling hills, the picturesque town was founded in 1813 and is named after the Earl of Caledon. Today it is also a nature lover's paradise, while the area also offers hiking trails and hot springs.
A wet and windy Cape welcomed the crews to the official start at Helderberg Toyota. We caught up with defending champion Enzo Kuhn.
Always a little bit of uncertainty which adds to the nerves on the first event. But no different than previous years, except for a little bit thicker competition this year. We have more cars in S2000, which is great, good for the sport.
Toyota ace Serge Damser was also looking forward to the closer competition.
It's nice to see a new season with quite a few S2000s and some young guys in there, so it's going to be an interesting year. I can see that, and a lot of more new names might come out of this, so it's good.
Former production car driver Johnny Gemmell is a newcomer to the S2000 fold.
So it's a much lighter car. It's quite a bit different, but we'll use this event as like a long test session, get used to the car, maybe make some adjustments. But we did some testing Wednesday afternoon. It goes quite nicely. You know, I think there's 8 S2000s in this event, and everyone's going to be racing to try and beat each other.
Competition in N4 was also expected to be fierce. Mitsubishi Lancer pilot Fernando Rueda is one of the front runners.
We have different suspension on, which seem to be a bit better, and we've got a different management system as well in the car, which seems to work also a bit better. But you know, the truth will be in the next hour. We will know whether it really is better, or the stopwatch is one thing when you're testing, but you know, we'll see.
One of the young guns in local rallying is S2000 newcomer John Williams.
I'm just glad to be here in time for the first event. You know, just great opportunity for me at my age, you know. So, but we'll see after the first stage how it goes and where I slot in. These guys taught me how to drive, and now I'm racing against him. So, but I think if I feel comfortable, I'm going to go. But if not, I'm going to take it easy.
VW Works driver Jan Habich seemed quietly confident.
I think it's going to be a very interesting season. It's the most cars we've had in top class for many years, and obviously quite a couple of new guys with new ideas, and you know, with quite a bit of motivation. But you'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be quite hectic, especially the first half of the season.
Is this year's Polo a better car?
Very similar to last year. They obviously have now been homologated internationally, and obviously a few subtle changes on maybe the roll cages here and there, but as a whole the performance package is basically the same as last year.
And what is Habich's take on the increased competition up front?
We've got 8 or 9 S2000s and a good 4, 5 or 6 N4, so it gives you 12, 15 cars, all with the potential to win rallies, which I think is great for the sport.
We caught up with current N4 champion Nicholas Ryan at the Fuel and Tyre service point in Caledon.
I think I just got to go straight out from the beginning, because there's a lot of people gunning for that number 1 place on the production, and now everybody's moved up, as I said, and everybody wants to know that they're moving up is for something, not for nothing.
Ryan's weapon this year is a new Autotech built Subaru Impreza N12B.
It's new, the settings are new, the tolerances are new. It feels new. It feels new. It feels great. I can't get much better than I have, so I can't give an excuse that the car's not wrong. It's just me.
For the rally fraternity, the focus was red-hot, high-speed action. And for the first time, no less than 8 top-class S2000 rally machines would be vying for line honours. Toyota upped its S2000 Runix entries from last year's 2 to a total of 4, while Volkswagen's 3 works entries were augmented by a factory-prepped 4th car for promising youngster John Williams. Clerk of the course Thomas Lone had no mercy for those crews who had hoped to ease into the rally. The very first stage was also the longest of the entire rally. The 29-kilometre stage offered lots of smooth, fast gravel, but also a couple of tricky dips and ruts to catch out the unwary, exactly what the spectators were hoping for. After a 5-month layoff, most of the teams were rusty, while the likes of John and Doug Williams in the Guma Trident Press S2000 Polo had the added challenge of getting to grips with their new, much faster steed. Johnny Gemmell and Peter Marsh were also paying school fees in the Castrol Toyota Runex. JP Damso is another newcomer to the S2000 fold in his total back Toyota Runex and was still learning the ropes. Not so Etienne Lawrence and Andre Vermeulen, who looked quick and confident in their S2000 Runex. The Total Stars consistency earned him a 4th place in last year's championship, and he'll be hungry for even greater success this year. Habik and Judd weren't as sharp on this stage as expected and were pipped by both Enzo Kuhn and Jürgen Fecken. 2006 champion Kuhn is ultra smooth, but the BP-VW Polo wasn't quite on song. Defending the championship is a new experience for the lanky driver, and the competition this year is fiercer than ever. Jürgen Fecken has been knocking on the door of rally victory for a while now, and many believe 2007 could be his year. A season of S2000 experience will stand him in good stead, and he looked committed, beating both his teammates. But Serge Damso was master of all, splashing his way to a stage victory.
The N4 production car tussle also promised to be a close one. Among the faster teams in this class are Fissa Du-Plessis and Dave Lefkovich, who were giving it stick from the word go in their Pertec creepy crawly Subaru STI, and losing some bits in the process. With a freshly prepared car and sporting a trimmer profile, Fissa was in a confident mood. Much was expected of 2006 production car champions Nicholas Ryan and Scott van Heerden in their new Bosel Johnny's Way Subaru. But it was obvious from the outset that Ryan wasn't quite at ease behind the wheel of his new monster. Perhaps part of the reason was a challenge from an unexpected quarter. Last year's A7 champions, Charles Wilkin and Greg Godrich, started their 2007 campaign at the wheel of a brand new N4 Pro Drive Subaru with support from Konica Minolta. And Charles looked in devastating form from the outset. Ryan would have to pull up his socks.
Class A6, an older machine was stealing the show. Eugene Lawrence and Derek Jacobs gave hope to the middle-aged by peddling their veteran Total Toyota Conquest RSI into an early class lead.
Very competitive, it's doing well, pulls strongly, the handles beautifully, and it's very forgiving. So all those qualities make it a very good race car.
Another A6 car with lots of pace is the Panhard VW Polo of Steve Wilkin and Brian Carryhill, and it certainly showed a good turn of speed. Disappointing were Craig Trott and new navigator Carolyn Swan, who were still getting to know each other and their new team Total Toyota Runex. Always an A6 frontrunner, Trott found himself off the pace.
Yeah, as you say, new car, new navigator. Stage one, I think a bit of a learning curve. You know, driver a bit of steep, not trying to get used to the car.
Local stalwarts Andy Haig-Smith and Eugene LaRue were also mixing it with the front runners in the class, pipping Trott by a handy 9 seconds.
We caught up with Fecken after stage one.
It's a very quick stage, and there's a lot of places you can actually almost make the corner straight, so you have to be wide awake, and it's very fast. Yeah, the spectators, we just clipped the inside of a corner and the wheel alignment went out, so we took a few Ks just to get settled. Steering is slightly towards the turn, so but the time is not too bad.
The VW driver confirmed that it's very competitive out there.
Last year, if you had a flat or something, then you were 4th, 5th. Now, if you have a flat, you might just be 9th, 10th. So it's a bit of a different kettle of fish this year.
In the Toyota camp, it was smiles all round.
It goes quite well. Basically, just got to get used to it, I think. But there was like a max dip we just went through, and we took off a little bit. To start off, if I feel comfortable, we'll try a bit harder as we get on the weekend.
I just didn't come across quick enough, and there was a piece of like a bridge just sticking out, and the right wheel just hit it. I knew straight away, but we thought if we stopped we'd lose more time, and we just took it slightly easier, and we got to the end, so it wasn't too bad. I think we only lost a minute, whereas if we stopped we probably would have lost 3-4 minutes.
We seem to have broken a shock on that stage 1, and it hit the side shaft, so we had to replace the shock and the side shaft, and it took us 7 minutes longer than service was allowed, so we lost 70 seconds on penalty.
In the Pertec Creepy Crawley camp, the service crew sprung into action when Duplessis Subaru arrived at the service point looking rather worse for wear after suffering a puncture 10 kilometres from the finish. By comparison, the Wilkin crew looked relaxed.
The car is really nice to drive, quite forgiving, but I'm still getting used to it, so hopefully we can go a little bit quicker still. The first big difference is you've got traction, and the car can actually get away, and same in the corners. It's much easier to, when you get into trouble, to get it out of trouble because you've got all 4 wheels pulling. So all in all, it's a much easier car to drive.
And here are the leaderboards after stage 1.
At just short of 22 kilometers, stage 2 continued the fast and furious theme of the rally opener. But at speed, those marbles can be very slippery, especially for the first few cars. Conditions certainly were not ideal for S2000 novices like John Williams, who often found himself flat out in a car he was still getting to know. Gemmell was also finding the learning curve steeper than expected and was now focused on getting to know the Castrol Runex better. Already the fastest of the 3 S2000 newcomers was JP Damso. He looked determined to tame the Total Runex. For JP, getting to grips with the new car's superior brakes was one of the biggest challenges. Up front, Enzo was still struggling with an off-song car. As was Habeck, a glitch in the engine management system seemed to be the culprit. Etienne Lawrence was quicker than both the Polos and clearly enjoying himself.
And long left 6. Into a long right 3 in, 40 over gate.
Again, fastest of the BP Polos in this stage was Becken, clearly intent on making up some of that lateness. But Serge was in a class of his own, and the only driver to break the 10-minute barrier. The Toyota team leader's performance left Enzo Kuhn somewhat bemused.
He's got the edge on us at the moment, so we're going to have to really have an absolutely perfect stage to beat him.
Obviously, the fast pace was leaving little margin for error.
You lose a minute, it's not easy to make it up. The guys are all pushing very hard, especially on these quick roads. There's not a lot of time in it.
We will still get used to the car. And yeah, driving these roads in the Cape, they're quite fast, so it's quite a handful at some places. So it's traveling quite quickly.
In Class A7, Kobus Roos and Neil Fourie and the Sasol Toyota Runex were putting up a game fight. The former N3 crew looked very much at home in their fastest steed. KZN privateers Tony Ball and Alan Bissett were storming storming along in their Bulwer Park Golf, which is starting to show its age. New to the class is N3 champion Chris de Wit, who was finding his new Runnex quite a challenge.
From N3 to A7 is a huge jump. The car is hugely different. It might look similar, but it's really a lot different. It brakes much better, accelerates much faster, handles better, so it's all around just a big learning curve for us, but we'll hopefully be there in an event or two.
Despite an overheating engine, Barry Grobbelaar and Mike Burrows were caning their Sasol Golf. But the fastest man in A7 was another class newcomer.
It's been a bit of a wake-up call for us. The car's a lot faster than we sort of anticipated initially. The stages are extremely fast. So that caught us out, one or two little scares, but we're on the road, and yeah, we're trying to keep it nice and smooth and clean.
We're waiting for the same.
A5 champion Michael Houghton, the move to a Class N3 Total Runnex was something of an eye-opener.
There's certain things that we still have to learn with the car, and we're taking it easy, and they're going alpha leather, so we'll get there at some stage, but at the moment we're just finding our feet. Well, they say in this class, you lift off, you come last, so at the moment we still need to work on that, but yeah, no, loving every minute of it.
Proving that privateers can be competitive, Huggy Straw and George Baker were flying in their Ellie Straw Auctioneers N3 Runnex. Rodney Pasaki was expecting to be among the front runners, but a mishap in stage 1 cost him dearly.
About 15 k's from the end, we had a front brake pipe burst, so it was a bit terrifying. I was pushing, but you know, I didn't want to go off, and well, I mean, when it did burst, we did go off, but thank God there was not too bad, and we got back going. So, but we've lost a minute and a half, which I don't know if we're going to make back. We're going to start pushing now and see, but the guys are going, so I don't think we'll make it back. We'll see what we can do.
One of last year's finds was Mohamed Musa, whose debut performance saw him finish third in the class championship. In Caledon, he had the bit between the teeth from the outset.
Our intention wasn't to come in and, you know, push very hard. We would just see what the pace was like and react. And I see the guys were taking it very easy on the first stage, so we managed to build up a buffer. Everybody's walking up on the second stage and they're pushing a little bit. We're still not on the max.
We'll be back after the break with more... backdrop was of little interest to the crews, who were far more intent on keeping their potent rally machines on the track at flat-out speed. For the spectators, it made for thrilling viewing. By now it was clear that John and Doug Williams were treating their first S2000 outing as a test session. The pair was keeping their Guma Polo on the road, but were out of touch with the leaders. By own admission, Gemmel was following a similar strategy. The former N4 pilot was struggling with braking points, which are much later than the heavy production car he's used to. JP Dapso, on the other hand, was finding increasing confidence in his Total Runnex and was starting to match the pace of the S2000 regulars. In fact, JP's time on this stage was identical to that of teammate Etienne Laurent, who was still looking dangerous and running third overall. For Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson, the lack of pace of their VP Polo was particularly frustrating. Kuhn's speed and maturity earned him the overall championship in 2006, and he was clearly irritated about his inability to put up more of a fight in the season opener. However, pushing too hard could well compromise valuable points for a top 5 finish. Some committed driving from Feckin saw the VP Polo driver outpace his champion teammate. Without that 70-second lateness penalty, Hergen would have been right up there. Now it was more a case of damage control. But the the most attacking crew in the Volkswagen Rally squad were veterans Yanni Habich and Douglas Judd. Would it be enough to catch Surge? Damso is always difficult to beat on his home turf, but this year, Route Notes mostly leveled the odds by negating the value of any local knowledge. Even so, the Toyota Ace took his third straight stage win to lead overall by an emphatic 32 seconds.
In N4, the Verloc sisters were keeping it nice and steady. But Fitzer du Plessis was a man on a mission, intent on staying in touch with the top N4 runners. Apart from the Stage 1 puncture, the Pertec creepy crawly Subaru was running flawlessly, and Fitzer was right up there with Reuter and Ryan. Reuter's Mitsubishi Evo had the straight-line speed, but new rear shocks were compromising the car's handling, while the power steering pump was playing up too. For Ryan, the event was turning into a nightmare. Despite the Autotech-built Subaru's obvious potential, he couldn't match class leader Wilkins' pace. Charles Minolta-Konicke's Subaru was starting to look unbeatable.
Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin had a similar grip on Class A7. The talented Cronje wasn't at all intimidated by his new car's speed and was already miles ahead of the rest. In Class A5, the action was rather less frenetic. Chad Conradi was among the front gaggle of contenders, ahead of a struggling Claudio Piazzamusso, whose much-anticipated new Toyota Yaris did not materialize. For now, the man to beat was Gugu Zulu, languishing in his old City Golf, while a new A7 Polo is being built for him. Teammate Andre Kleinberg was playing catch-up after an uncharacteristic shortage of pace in Stage 1, which cost the Port Elizabeth driver more than a minute. Raising some eyebrows with his turn of speed was Steve Mearns in the MP Cement A5 Taz, lying a handy second behind Zulu. We asked Piazzamusso about the missing Yaris after this stage.
We should be ready for the Sassel. We just hope we can get some kind of mileage before the Sassel, because as you know, to put a new car into a rally, there's so many little things to sort out. So hopefully we'll have the time to go and shake it down and actually, you know, get a good feeling on it before we go to the Sassel.
Stage 4 had the crews crisscrossing their way through twisty farm roads, attracting plenty of local spectators who enjoyed the sight of the rooster-tailing rally cars flying through their own backyards. He might still be learning, but John Williams was giving the Guma VW Polo lots of stick. The confident youngster should become a force to be reckoned with very soon. Koen's Polo was playing up again, and he lost 9 seconds to teammate Habich's fastest stage time. JP, by comparison, set exactly the same time as Enzo and was really starting to enjoy the total Runnex. Gemmell too was more confident behind his Castrol Runnex and pipped JP by a single second. Second was quicker than Enzo, although only by 4 seconds. Underscoring just how closely matched the S2000 cars are, Etienne Lorenz shaved a further 2 seconds off Becken's time. For the first time, Damso didn't head the timesheets. He was 2 seconds faster than Lorenz, but it wasn't enough. Stage honours belonged to the BP VW Polo of Habich and Judd, moving the pair into second. Seeing Surge's lead increase with every stage, Yanni was on a mission to halt the rocks.
Also looking determined was Tony Ball in the A7 Bullworth Park Golf, chasing the similar Saddleback car of Krobelaar and Burrows. The gap, only 2 seconds. While De Wit and navigator Patrick Yende were pushing harder now, the transition from N3 to A7 was proving a tougher than expected task. The A7 Runix has almost twice the power of the N3 version. For Marc Cronje, the move from A6 to A7 was clearly a lot less challenging. The modest youngster, who only started rallying last year, was annihilating the rest of the A7 field.
For me, it's really just to finish the event, find my feet with A7. This is my 7th event, so it's not like I've got a vast amount of rally experience. And I think it's really just to gain that experience again.
In A6, the old-school Total Toyota Conquest continued to run with and beat more modern machinery, although Lawrence and Jacobs were pipped on stage 4 by an improving Trott and Swan, albeit by only 4 seconds.
I think at the moment I'm actually under-driving it. Trying to drive the way I used to drive the Corolla doesn't help. I'm finding the braking is a lot better than the Corolla with the bigger brakes. And I just need to drive it to its full capability now. I'm sure within the next 2-3 stages I'll get there. By tomorrow morning, hopefully, be a lot quicker.
Another veteran who wasn't letting age get in the way of pace was Andy Haig-Smith. However, on stage 4, the Polo of Wilkin and Carryhill set the second fastest time, 3 seconds better than Trott and only 4 seconds behind Mike Nathan's Corolla.
At 27 kilometres, the last stage of the day was almost as long as the first, and with no servicing allowed between stages 4 and 5, it would be a tough finish to a hot, fast and dusty day. While the Toyota of Surge saw held a handy 32 seconds, even the smallest sliver of a misfortune could turn the tables. Would Hubbick continue his kamikaze attack? Would Surge be able to respond? And just how reliable were the F2000 cars after a hard day's rallying? The still quiet farmlands and compacted surface of stage 5 would soon provide the answers. Even the spectators could sense the tension. Others were simply enjoying the view. For John Williams, the first day's 5 stages were a baptism of fire, but his enthusiasm for the rapid S2000 Polo remained undiminished. After a narrow escape on stage 1, nobody could blame Gemmell for taking a more circumspect approach to the remaining stages, but he continued to improve. Kuhn's maturity was a major factor in his title-winning form last year, and he had clearly decided to settle for points in an underperforming car rather than risking retirement.
Left 1, right 1 over crest. 60, caution, crest, advert, right 9, right 9.
Arguably the most consistent S2000 driver of day 1 was Etienne Lawrence. His measured approach, with only 1 overshoot on stage 1, kept him in a solid 3rd. For the 2nd stage in a row, Damso didn't set the fastest time, but it didn't change the leaderboard. Surge was still on top. Any doubt that JP Damso was coping with the S2000 were dispelled by his inspired drive on stage 5, which earned him exactly the same stage time as his illustrious father. Beckham's determination was also paying dividends. He posted the joint fastest time on stage 5. But the man of the moment was Jan Hubbick, whose gritty performance, despite a down-on-power car, earned him the stage win and kept him within striking distance of Damso. Surge had every reason to be satisfied after a good day's work in his high-speed office.
So far, we're having quite a good run, and just slight problem with the alternator belt keeps on jumping off, so that's a bit of a worrying in the stage, the battery's dropping down, so we're losing a bit of power there. So, well, further everything else seems to be all right. You have to keep going because you can lose on these long stages. You can just lose everything, so you have to keep going.
There seems to be a small electronic problem with the fuel map, and the guys are working hard on it, but it's causing the car not to get full RPM on the long straights. So yeah, we have to find time at other places, but that's a bit hectic because everyone else is trying hard, so we just got to jump a bit further and jump a bit higher. Very high risk.
As the service crews worked against the clock to settle their high-speed charges, JP had time to reflect on a positive first day.
We'll see by this evening who we more or less placed with, and then we can take it tomorrow and maybe give it a go a bit quicker. But I think the whole season we'll be getting used to the car.
While the S2000 tussle was extremely close, there wasn't nearly the same sense of urgency in N4, although the Verloc sisters were enjoying their ding-dong with the Pizer Hoskin Subaru. Duplessis and Levkovitz were extracting enough pace from their Subaru to closely shadow the latest spec Impreza of arch rivals Ryan and Van Heerden. Now, Rueda's crowd-pleased Mitsubishi Evo was also in the hunt, but transmission problems were looming. The boastful Jonas Way Subaru of Nick Ryan set exactly the same time as Rueda on stage 5, but was trailing the class leader by minutes now.
Our car has been going well, but I phoned the guy who built the car, and he didn't know that South Africa roads are as clean, as smooth as we have, and they've given us the shocks and the spring settings and the whole setup on the shocks for Argentina and Mexico, which is just like the Safari, and I'm getting bounced around everywhere and can't brake and you can't handle.
One of the drives of the day was the clean sweep performance of Wilkin and Godrich, who catapulted their Konica Minolta Subaru into a confident class lead. Houghton and Boertes were keeping it safe and on the road in their first N3 outing. While privateers Stroh and Baker were still hanging on to second place in class, but were being hauled in by Fasaki and Lagranzi. The latter were still paying for their stage 1 misfortune. Musa's so-called cautious approach wasn't reflected in his dominating form. After day 1, the results looked like this.
South African Rally Championship. Cloud cover did little to dissuade thousands of fans who travelled to Caledon for the second half of the rally season's opening round. Roadworks made progress to the spectator point tedious, but the spirits were high. On the day's agenda were 5 more stages, including an on-par finale back in Brackenfell. Of the 4 Caledon stages, only stage 7 was new, with the remainder repeats of day 1. If anything, that suggested even quicker times. JP Damso seemed to relish the prospects.
It's going well so far. I mean, keeping in there with some of the top guys. The times are not too far off them. But travelling at this pace is quick, really quick.
And JP wasn't joking. The average speeds on these smooth Overberg stages are among the highest in the championship. For instance, Serge Damso managed average speeds of more than 130 kilometers an hour on 2 of the first 5 stages. Yes, that's average, not maximum speed. The sound of rally cars in anger is always a draw card for spectators who would happily brave the elements to experience the action close up. John Williams, one of the S2000 class's rookie drivers, was using the Toyota Tila Rally as a valuable opportunity to gain more experience of a car he'd only briefly driven before the event. Johnny Gemmell was finding his feet in his first S2000 outing, but not enough to challenge the leaders. Fergan Fecken sometimes struggles to get into the groove on the day's first stage, and although spectacular, trailed his Volkswagen colleagues by a couple of seconds here. Enzo Kuhn opted for a measured pace, designed to bring the VP Polo home in a points-earning fuel mapping issue was still hampering the Volkswagen's progress. JP Damso, on the other hand, was in attack mode and was looking more confident than ever behind the total-backed S2000 Runex. Etienne Lawrence was only 5 seconds faster than JP, but driving a tactical race, intent now on keeping third, while poised to take advantage of any close rival's mishap.
Right 2. Dip right 2, long left 5 over gate. Tightens to a left 6. 200. Maximum crest, long right 2. Into a long right 2. 40.
Jan Habich continued where he left off the day before, pushing the BP Polo beyond its capabilities to closely track the leader. His stage time was only a second off Damso's winning score. But watching Damso was seeing a master at work. Completely in control, his pace was just enough to earn the stage win while pressuring his rivals.
Further back, Tony Ball found himself under unexpected pressure when the Bulwer Park Golf calipers started snagging the rim on the way to the start of stage 6. Attempts at repairs proved fruitless as the clock kept on ticking. Ball decided to soldier on and take his chances. Down the road at the start, class rivals Quibus Ruus and Neil Fourie were already on their merry way. The pair was second in Class A7 overnight. Try as he might, De Wit was still struggling with the A17 Total Runex. A lack of confidence in the route notes didn't help either.
But in reality, you know, it's one thing watching it on a DVD and then going over there at 180 km an hour over blind rise. You're sort of not sure what if a L2 is a L2 or L4, you know, different cars for different speeds. So you have to build confidence in the notes too, I think, but we're getting there.
Barry Hrobla expected to be an early casualty when his Sasol Golf started overheating, but he persevered, and so did the Golf. But nobody in Class A7 could get close to the flying Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin. It's obvious why Toyota has such high hopes for the young star. Mark was also enjoying the route notes.
I'm loving the notes. That to me is what racing's all about. You know, the commitment. You know, when you go circuit racing, you're driving 10/10s. And, you know, you can't always drive 10/10s on the road here, but you've got that sort of commitment. So that's what brings the excitement back.
Cronje may be one of the younger drivers, but not nearly as youthful as 14-year-old Ashley Haig-Smith, who made his national rally debut in the navigator's seat of Steve White's Mitsubishi Lancer. What did he think of the experience?
Oh, it feels great, eh? Oh, amazing, really. Very loose, very tough. It's a great feeling, because I've done now two. I did one with my dad last time. He's A6, and we finished third overall in the one rally and first in class.
But how did it all start?
My dad, he used to race 12 years ago, and then what happened was I saw him, and then I've been servicing for the last 6 years, and then eventually I was old enough to come race and help out and then be in the seat.
Ashley's mom is always at hand to lend support, and the odd Sami. But does he get nervous?
Nervous every time before a stage, and then once I'm past the first 1 kilometer, 500 meters, I'm perfect, and then straight out and fly.
Stage 7 was the only new stage of the day, and not surprisingly, it was fast and long, just like most of the others. The pastoral surroundings make this part of the Overberg one of the most scenic in the Western Cape, but the peace and quiet was about to be shattered by the roar of rally cars racing anger. Young John Williams was improving steadily. Gemmell was faster, but not yet confident enough to pose any threat to the top dogs on this event. His time will come. Kuhn and Hodgson were running conservatively, but coming under pressure from teammates Fecken and Aris. Enzo's at his best when launching an attack, and he must have been gritting his teeth in frustration. Lawrence remained ensconced in a safe third, although the action behind him was hotting up. The Pretoria Team Total driver always enjoys the time stuff. The twisty farmyard route also suited the precise driving style of JP to a T, and he flung the Team Total Ranix around with great gusto. His reward was a time only 5 seconds off the winning pace. Habich may have indicated that he could wring nothing extra from his BP Volkswagen Polo, but that didn't stop him from trying. But even his commitment wasn't enough to prevent teammate Fecken from beating him, albeit by a single second. By comparison, Serge looked in supreme control, using the Castrol Toyota Ranix like a scalpel to slice through the twists and turns.
In the N4 category, Pizer and Hoskins looked calm and comfortable. But the Rally Chick sisters were faster than the Viking Subaru boys this time round. Fisher Duplessis pipped both. More importantly, he was also quicker than Ryan's latest spec Subaru. Fernando Reuter was soldiering on, but a transmission problem was about to force him into retirement. Ryan continued to look out of sorts, but not as badly as Reuter, who was dousing an oil fire under the bonnet. The scented diff was the culprit.
Scented diff. Gone. It was going on the stage before, and now it's gone, properly gone.
Looking almost serene by comparison, Wilkins' stated objective of chasing the S2000s wasn't coming to fruition, but he looked invincible in N4.
In the A5 tussle, Piet Buckers and Tommy de Toy were slowly working their way up the field. An out-of-sort Sassel Taz didn't flatter the talents of Piazza Musso, though. Andre Kleinberg was also on the march and had Claudio in his sights. Stevie Mearns continued his good form, but any chance of taking the class lead was slipping away. A broken exhaust only added to the enthusiasm. Chasing hard for Mearns' second place were Chart Conradi and Alvine Coetzee. Alvine is the daughter of rally and off-road legend Cassie Coetzee. She's also a lot prettier than Cassie. ahead to be in any danger from the A5 pack were Ubuzulu and Carl Peskin in what was turning out to be a virtuoso A5 performance.
We've done actually quite well in the first two stages. We struggled initially with the car setup, but I think now we've got it on the right groove, so to say.
Don't go away. More action from the Toyota Dealer Rally after the break.
Stage 8 was a repeat of day 1's stage 5, challenging the crews with a mixed bag of flat-out straight and farmyard 90 left and right. At 27 kilometres, it was also one of the longest stages of the day. Williams must have grown wings to fly his Guma Polo that high. JP's pace, however, was a little lackluster on this stage. A little wrong slot, perhaps. Enzo showed that he can get airborne too. Matched Kuhn's time over this stage, underscoring his growing familiarity with the run angle. Still in third overall, Lorenz was sensing a possible charge from Kuhn, now only 16 seconds adrift of the total run angle. Here's another Volkswagen driver with wings. Second was equal second fastest on stage 8. He shared his stage time with Hubik, who was still hoping to sneak into a last gasp lead should Danfo's car experience any trouble. But Serge kept at his hammer and tongs and was looking invincible.
In A7, Ruiz continued to press on as he tried to make up time on the A7 leaders in his Passel Running. Ball's caliper woes had apparently been resolved, but his times were slowing. De Wit and Yende were now resigned to an off-pace performance. They lost a minute to Cronje on this stage alone. Would the engine of Kroblar's overheating Sasol Golf go the distance? For Cronje, getting to the finish was the only remaining challenge. Not even a broken shock on this stage, and an 80-second penalty for lateness to get it fixed could stop a landslide class victory.
In N3, Michael Houghton was trailing the top 3 teams with no chance of making up a place. A charging Aggie Stroh set an identical time to class leader Musa in trying to fend off an onslaught from a flying Rodney Fasaki. Stroh fought back gamely, but the attack was just too fierce. Even so, it was a fine effort. Of course, Fasaki would have been a more effective rival to Musa if he hadn't lost the 1.5 minutes on the very first stage. For Mohammed, the class win looked all but sewn up, however.
The last gravel stage of the Toyota Dealer Rally was a repeat of stage 1. At 28 kilometers, the test wasn't for sissies. Teams with a chance to improve their positions would have to find the right balance between risk and circumspection. Also, the dreaded water splash was waiting for victims.
How deep should it be? Just about ankle deep. And it was close to the knees earlier this morning, so we have let it out a bit.
The lure of water-inspired peril drew a huge crowd of spectators. The cavalier approach of young John Williams provided the necessary spectacle. Johnny Gemmel's splash wasn't too shabby either. And Kuhn's effort was a crowd pleaser. But Jan Habik adopted a more cautious approach, much to the disappointment of the crowd. Most spectacular of the Volkswagens was was second, but the DP Polo didn't enjoy the shower. Hard in, hard out was the JP Damso tactic, and it worked.
And on the right 2 in, left 2, left 3 over drift. Left 9. 80 uphill.
Lourens, worried about Queen's late push, didn't spare the horses either. The crowd favourite didn't put a foot wrong his way to another fastest time.
The Verlaque sisters tackled the penultimate stage in the hope of catching the Viking Subaru of Pisa and Hoskins. But Pisa wasn't about to be outspiked and kept it steady, although the girls beat them by 16 seconds here. Ryan was driving for a finish. Any hopes of taking the N4 class honour well and truly dashed. Both Ryan and Duplessis pleased the crowds with their charge through the water. But making the biggest splash of all, in more ways than one, were Wilkin and Godrich, still in full command of the N4 class. If N4 ended up a one-horse race, then A6 was the class of upsets. Andy Haig-Smith and Eugene LaRue were living proof that simply keeping it on the road can lead to a good result. Second in class in this instance. Lady Luck smiled on a still struggling Trotton Swan. Having been outpaced by Lourens and Jacobs for virtually the entire event, the latter's aging conquest RSI retired when the wheel stud sheared, leading Trot to inherit the A6 win.
Toyota Taz of Bacchus and Detroit looks indecently quick through this section, but they were about to pay a price for such pace.
It was very, very rough out of there. Lots of big rocks. Took one turn too sharp and hit one of the rocks on the outside. Tire came off. Tried to ride it out of the stage, but it wasn't happening.
Repairs effected, the crew continued on their merry way.
Problems with the timekeeping equipment meant that the final stage, held on tar at the Brackenfell Hypermarket, wasn't scored for the event. But that didn't detract from the carnival atmosphere as thousands of fans clustered around the deceptively twisty test. For the drivers, these so-called Mickey Mouse stages are often awkward and even dangerous. Some sections are so tight that the cars struggle to make it through the turns, while the layout can be confusing and ambiguous. But the crowds love every moment. And the Toyota marketing team has pulled out all the stops to ensure that this would be a stage to remember.
The prize for the most spectacular incident goes to an inspired Etienne Lourens. A power slide goes horribly wrong as the Team Total Ranix slews wide and hits a tree. Team director Young Time gets out of the way, but only just in time. Here's his close-up view. Minus a left rear wheel and some rear glass, Lourens soldiered on and made it to the finish and the nearby park firm without losing his third place. The crowd was ecstatic, and the dancing girls only added to the atmosphere. We asked Lourens about his approach to the rest of the season.
I think to try and win the rally is probably not the idea. I think to get a top 3 finish every rally is probably the best advice I could give myself or everybody else. But I think so. Consistent, fast finishes would be good. It would be nice to pop in a win or two, yeah, that'll be great. But I think to do that you have to stick your neck right out and accept the fact that you can fall off and not finish at all.
Habik wasn't too disappointed with second.
we went as fast as we could without braking it or going off the road. So we had no reserve left whatsoever. I think the pace that we were trying at is probably our max, and now once we get the car to run properly, it'll be okay.
A great round of applause.
Yeah, I'd like to, get more used to the car and find out where the limits are. This wasn't a good rally to try and find those limits, way too fast. But I think hopefully by the third or fourth rally we'll really know the car well, and maybe then give the S2000 maybe a bit of a go.
Damso dominated from start to finish.
I think we caught him a little bit snoozing on the first day, and from there we had to...